Welcome to Brampton Focus. In 2015, the municipal landscape changed in Brampton. A new mayor and many new councillors. One such was in Wards 9 and 10, where a formidable incumbent was unseated by a virtual unknown. My name is Michael A. Charbon. We meet Gurpreet Dhillon, councillor from Wards 9 and 10, right here, next on Brampton Focus. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. It was over 40%, more than 2,000 votes, that my next guest won his seat in Brampton Wards 9 and 10. Please welcome Gurpreet Dhillon. Thank you so much for joining us on Brampton Focus.
Michael, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I wanted to talk to you your first year or your first couple of months. I mean, October was the election.
Right.
What kind of impression? I mean, you were basically a French fry, if you wish, thrown into municipal politics. You unseated Vicky Dillon, which was quite a surmountable incumbent.
Right.
He had a great force behind him, and you came in and you won Ward 9 and 10. Give our folks at home a little bit of a perspective of what you've learned and what are the challenges you've realized in taking on these wards.
Well, I think it's been an interesting first year. There's a lot of accomplishments that we did have. There's a lot of challenges that we faced, and you know, it's been an interesting first year. But I can say that we've had a productive time in Ward 9 and 10. I think with the outreach we've had hasn't been seen. It's unprecedented. We went on a tour of parks where we did town halls at 25 different parks. We took staff there from our Parks and Recreation Department. We took a police officer there from the Peel Regional Police. We had a Ward 9 and 10 school trustee. So we were able to get a profile for each area in our wards. And we were also able to provide service to our residents by taking City Hall directly to them. So I think we've had a good experience the first year. I think we have, like I said, there's challenges, there's a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward to year two.
What is one of the biggest things that you've experienced? I mean, being a newbie, and I can say that with all respect,
Right.
I mean, you got thrown into this municipal politics. Some have said that Brampton's council is a little dysfunctional.
Right.
Is there something that you can bring to the fore now that you learned, which is something that you didn't realize?
Well, I think I was elected to challenge a lot of the things that go on in council. I think I've been able to do that, to really hold some of the past decisions, and some of the people who made those decisions accountable. And I think residents wanted answers in the last election, and they had a lot of issues. And I think, for example, we had transit. That was a big issue. We had a lot of gridlock in our city. We don't have a university. We have just a lot of houses up in Ward 9 and 10. We don't really have a lot of industry and opportunity for our residents to work. So I think what I've done is try to bring a voice. And when you speak of dysfunction, I wouldn't say necessarily dysfunction, because that would mean that the council is totally in disarray. But I think there's certain elements of dysfunction that still linger. And I think that particular element that does linger tries to, I guess you could say, muzzle the voice of people like me.
It was a tumultuous election.
Right.
I mean, we had lawsuits, we had allegations of criminal charges, it was a cluster futz, if you wish,
Right.
of a whole bunch of things. And now that it all settled, some of the things that have come to the fore, and you touched on some, we have the LRT.
Right.
We do have the objectives of a university, but first and foremost, when we talk about pay, there has been a little bit of, well, how should you say, residents being upset with the 7%
Right.
pay raise. Can you address that to the folks in Brampton?
Well, I think in any type of government, when we deal with pay, what we usually do is put it off towards the next council. We never give ourselves a raise, or we never touch our own pay, because that's something that the previous council decides, and we live with that. If we're upset with it, or if we like it, if we want to change it, we'll leave it up to the next council so the people can decide. And so what the council decided now was to give themselves a pay raise and essentially double their pension benefits, which I disagreed with. If you're going to make a decision, leave it to the next council, so the people can decide. And I think just because of our economic situation now, the current climate.
Well, Mayor Jeffries took $50,000 off her pay, and that was one of the things that she had mentioned about her pay. How can the constituents of Brampton look some of their councillors in the face when they've just voted themselves a 7% pay raise? I mean, that's slams right in the face of what some of them stated that they were going to do if elected.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think it's fair to the residents. We have a lot of people struggling right now just to make ends meet. We have some of the highest insurance rates in Canada. We have a problem with temporary job agencies here. We have a very high unemployment rate. And to give ourselves a raise, I think, is absolutely unfair. I was vehemently against it. I don't support it. But like I said, we're going to let, I guess it's an opportunity for the people to decide now if they want to in the next election.
So in your ward, there has been in the past accusations of unfettered development, where houses have been springing up and there haven't been the effective roads and the infrastructure to support that. What would you say to the folks of Brampton with regards to how that's going? How is that battle going?
Well, we have a municipal comprehensive review coming up shortly, in a few short weeks. And what I've asked our staff to do is also include all the employment lands for the past 25, 30 years that have been changed from employment to residential. I think that's cost our city greatly. Now, there's a number
some of the manufacturing locations,
right,
basically.
So there's a number that I like to tell my residents is that let's take a look at what our work to live-work ratio is, essentially how many jobs per people we have in Brampton. We're sitting at about 33% right now. And so that's for every 3 people, we have 1 job. So essentially, if you want to look at it, about 66% of our population goes outside of Brampton to work. Let's look at our neighbors, Mississauga. They have a 66% work-to-live ratio. So for every 3 people, they have 2 jobs. And so that means they have twice the number of jobs per person than us. And I've said it before in council. I said they've been in the job of city building while we've been in they've been in the business to city build. We've been focusing on building more and more houses, and we've essentially become a bedroom community. And we lack certain facilities like a university.
We'll get to the university,
but I think
but more importantly, it's as we conclude our first segment, and I want to come back in the second segment and the third. I want to talk about the LRT. I want to talk about the university. But this unfettered development and the transit or the motion, I should say, of people leaving is huge. With 30 seconds left, what would you tell folks? Have you solved the problem in 9 and 10?
We haven't solved the problem yet. Absolutely, there's a lot of work left to do, but I think we finally have a voice who's speaking out for the residents now.
And that voice is Gurpreet Dhillon. When we come back with our second segment, we're going to talk about the LRT. Lots of money left on the table, and we're going to talk about a potential university. You're watching Brampton Focus. My name is Michael A. Charbon. We'll be back with Gurpreet Dhillon and lots more right after this. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. We're joined by Gurpreet Dhillon, who is the councillor for wards 9 and 10 for the city of Brampton. When we left, I had mentioned that I wanted to talk about the LRT. I mean, the LRT, for some people, $400 million worth of money left on the table. Brampton, we had the mayor here, and she spoke very kindly of the fact that they had a large meeting at the Rose Theatre and everybody talked. But in the bottom line of it all is Brampton, I think, missed the boat.
Absolutely.
Where do you see your part in trying to either rectify this, or how do you explain this?
Well, I think this is, Michael, I think this is a very big missed opportunity for every resident of Brampton. I think it would have opened up so many doors. I think it would have been so attractive for business. It would have made life easier for some of our businesses downtown, but made life easier for people who want to use trends. I think if you take a look at some of our roads, if you take a look at the 410,
well, thank God they're making it wider.
Well, they're making it wider.
But that's just increasing your traffic. And as you said in our previous segment, the transit going in and out, that's why LRT was so important.
Exactly. So we have $300 to $400 million that were given back to the province. It was essentially, you could say, it was free money to build this system here. So the question I ask is, if we didn't, I voted for the LRT.
Right.
And some of the councillors who voted against it said, listen, you know what, let's stop it at Steeles for now, and let's just hope that we can get some money later on.
But that's like being half pregnant. I mean, that doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work. And I think I would have much rather them vote for an actual route. So whether they say they want to go down McLaughlin, I would have been more satisfied with that. You know, we have something in place. We could lobby for some money for an actual route. Now we're really lobbying for nothing now.
Well, the horses have left the barn. I mean,
exactly.
Mississauga has set their trail very steady. Right. They're going up Huron-Ontario. They're building that corridor. Right. Look at the property values of Huron-Ontario. Brampton missed the boat. How can you get that money back? Is there something you can do? What's your plan? What's your plan?
I don't think we can get the money back. It'll be very difficult. If we do get it back, I think it'll be a miracle.
You know, snowball's chance in hell on that puppy.
A lot of councillors have spoken about miracles about getting funding, and if we do get it, you know what, it'll be good, but I think we missed the boat on it. So I think we got to go to plan B, is to look at other ways we can make transit better suited for our residents.
So Zoom is such a huge portion of what makes Brampton tick. Are you looking at some type of a rapid transit? Are you looking at increasing the Zoom? What are the solutions that some of the people in council, including yourself, are going to propose?
So I think the first problem that we have is trying to figure out how we're going to handle with the LRT stopping at Steeles now. And I think based upon those studies, we're going to really figure out how, I guess we're going to have to come with a new plan on how we're going to, jig the rest of our transit routes, because the plan was that we want to basically push and steer everybody towards the LRT and work around that. So now it's stopped at Steeles, so it really changed our plans. So the actual Main Street route, I know, is not going to be able to handle that many riders within the next few years. So there's some studies that are going to be done. There's going to be a lot of reports coming to us, but right now it's a little bit premature to say exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to have to do something.
A couple of other councillors have come up with some interesting plans and some solutions and some proposals. How do you rate those? And give our folks a bit of an overview.
I haven't really heard any plans. I haven't heard of
Well, there's a couple that have come through, and they've talked about them. They've talked about a formidable attack of using Steeles as a hub and creating it as a hub.
Well, we can create it as a hub. I guess essentially a lot of the I guess you can call them jokes I've heard from some of our residents is that welcome to the new downtown Steeles in Maine. So I don't know the specifics of their plan, but if you talk about some of the alternative routes that they've recommended for the LRT.
Well, several of the councillors has asked staff, specifically Brampton staff, to come up with some alternative routes and to propose
We've already went through those. They've already been studied. They've already been turned down by staff, and they said this was the HMLRT was the best route. So we're wasting a lot more money.
So how are we going to solve this problem, Gurpreet? You know as well as I do, Gurpreet, I beg your pardon, Gurpreet. I mean the way government works, it's very slow, and there's a lot of discussion and a lot of tra-la-la that goes around. Gurpreet, we need to get some type of a definitive answer or action plan. How are we going to get that?
Well, just to go back a minute, right now what we're doing is we spent a lot of money on facilitators, we spent a lot of money on these studies, and so we said no to these studies, but now we're asking, some of these councillors are saying, listen, we're stopping at Steeles, get us some more studies on routes we've already studied. So that's a waste of time. And now what we can do is try to figure out we've already mentioned it, what our next step is. We have to figure out what we're going to do with our main hub being at Steeles. I think we need to, so the studies are being done, and we spoke to our planning director and some of our members of our transit team. They're working on that. When they get back to us, we can go from there. But right now, it's premature to guess. And I think we've done a lot of guessing. We've ignored studies.
There's a lot of people in Brampton who are tired of guessing and are upset at $400 million left on the table and gone away, and they're going to look for solutions. And I know, Gurpreet, you're one of those guys who makes decisions and makes things move. So I think there's a lot of people, particularly your constituents in Ward 9 and 10, who are looking for some action. And I think 2016 has to be a year of action. Just under a minute left, and I want to carry this on to our next segment. Well, I want to talk about a university. And one of the things about a university is you have to get to it. So we come back to transit again. Is there, before we get deep into the university element, with about a minute left, where do you sit on a university in Brampton?
Well, I'm on the university committee. I do know that we're speaking to a number of potential suitors for building a university here. We can't get into too many specifics, but it looks very positive. We have a committee of well-respected leaders in the community from all different fields, and we're on the
Red
right
Ribbon
path.
Task Force, Blue Ribbon Task Force.
Blue ribbon, and I think I'm very positive about it. Right now, we can't speak of specifics of where it will be. What we need to do is first find that suitor and then go from there, but it's positive so far.
We're speaking to Gurpreet Dhillon, who is a member of council for wards 9 and 10, and we're talking about a whole raft of things. This is his first year in council, and we'll be able to get a little more insight. When we come back, we're going to talk about budget and a little bit about Gurpreet's objectives in 2016. You're watching Brampton Focus. My name is Michael A. Charbon. Please join us as we return right after this. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. My name is Michael A. Charbon. Our final segment with Gurpreet Dhillon, a councillor for wards 9 and 10. When we left, we were talking about transit, and we touched a little bit on the university. I want to get more from you, Gurpreet, some of your objectives for 2016. What are you looking to accomplish for wards 9 and 10, and what are some of the good things that the good people of Brampton have to look forward to?
Absolutely. Well, I think we touched on university. I think that's number one. But I think if we take a look at ward 9 and 10 in particular, there's a lot of infrastructure needs that we need to address. So as an executive member of the FCM, which is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, one of my objectives is to speak directly to all of our MPs in the city of Brampton and to let them know what our infrastructure needs is. So that's number one. And again, we're going to have park town halls at about 25 to 30 different parks. And we're going to find out what the exact issues and problems are in each of the areas in Ward 9 and 10. Just throughout the year, we're going to have a number of different initiatives as well. What we're going to do is get to the 9 and 10 businesses together and have our staff included as well to find out what their issues and concerns are on how we can move our city forward. As I mentioned before, we have Councillor Dillon's Drop-In, which is a basketball program, free basketball program for kids. It's on Tuesdays at Louise Arbor Secondary. So it's a place for kids to play, but also what we do is try to expose them to different speakers, motivational speakers, whether they're an MP, whether a doctor, an engineer. So they get to play, but they also get to learn as well. And in November, what we want to do is have something called Pathway to Leadership, where we bring our kids in. It coincides with the November Take Your Kids to Work Day. And so what we're going to do is bring them in, show them what a counselor does, show them what we do at City Hall, essentially groom our next leaders.
So you're born and raised in Canada. You've seen so many changes. What are some of the things that you've seen change the most in Brampton?
Well, I was born in Windsor, so I have a good experience on a lot of smaller cities. I lived in Malton for a bit, and then I eventually moved to Brampton for the past 15 or 16 years. And I've seen a great change in the years that I've been here, where there's been an influx in homes. And I think we really need to refocus our city, our objectives, and our vision to make sure that if we have a lot of homes here, we can't go backwards in time and take them all away. But we got to make sure that the residents that are here, that we make the city a place where they can live, work, and play and recreate and enjoy their lives and raise their standard of living.
A lot of people have complained this huge area that's been developed, lots of homes, and it's one traffic light, and it takes them so much to get through. I mean, urban sprawl, that has been a focus of so many people. How do you propose to attack that? How do you propose to put, I mean, you don't want to constrain growth, because growth is the engine that propels Brampton forward, but there has to be a little bit of hold on the reins so that the horses don't go wild.
Well, I think if we do have urban sprawl, but I think it's what we got to do is combat that. And how do we combat that? Make sure our transit is in place. And I think that
well, we come back to transit again. I mean, how ironic when we talk about transit. We had a huge loss of the LRT. You come back to transit. I mean, we're talking about a hub at Steeles. That's not really going to help our urban sprawl at this point.
No, absolutely not. But I think we have to be creative in our ways. And like I mentioned, we have to revision our thinking of what Brampton should be. So I don't think there's one particular area that we can focus in on. I think it's going to be a collaborative vision, and we have to have a broad scope on what we need to do. But I'm hoping that we can have some more collaboration in council itself in 2016 to really see how we can get resolutions or solutions to these issues.
Are there some particular objectives that you want to hit, Gurpreet? Is there something in specific that you want to hit in 2016?
Well, Obviously, I'm going to come back to the university as well. I think the university is key. It's very crucial to not only our youth, but to our future as well. It's going to bring in a lot of jobs. It's going to. We're having the Peel Memorial get built soon. So what we're going to do is hope. So what we're going to do is plan to have a lot of research jobs in and around the hospital and in the university area as well. So that's something that I'm focusing on. But what I want to do is create jobs here. And I think that's the number one, first and foremost, objective of myself, and I'm hopeful that council has that objective too.
You talked early in our discussion about some of the manufacturing lands and some of the manufacturing locations that were located in Brampton were taken over because of housing development.
Right.
And it really is bringing jobs back to Brampton. How are you going to do that? What are some of the tactics and tools that you see as working into bringing jobs back to Brampton?
Well, some of the employment lands that we do have, make sure that they stay employment lands. And we have a couple of areas that are undeveloped, and we want to make sure that those are focused on job creation, not just more residential housing. Again, I mentioned the hospital, I mentioned the university, but what we need to do is attract business and make sure that they know that Brampton is the best place. We have so many advantages. We're near highways. We're near Toronto. We're in the what you call the innovation corridor, which is from Toronto to the Kitchener Waterloo area. So we want to make sure that our GO service is up to speed and make sure that...
Well, all-day two-way GO is one of the mayor's hallmarks.
Right.
I mean, with that, it's going to make a huge difference, right?
Absolutely. So we want to do our part as well, make sure that we have the infrastructure in place, the transit in place, and to do our part as being part of that corridor. But we need to make sure those jobs come here. So
we've got just about a minute left. Don't mean to interrupt you. We've got about a minute left. Is there something in about 30 seconds that you can tell our folks that they have a positive vision to look for Gurpreet Dhillon, who's going to make a difference?
Absolutely. I think people ask for change in the 2014 election, and change doesn't always come at once, but we've brought a lot. We've brought a new voice. We've had a new vision brought into the city. And I think particularly in Ward 9 and 10, I've been a loud voice. I've challenged the status quo, and I've tried to hold some of those past decisions and the current decisions and those people who make those decisions as accountable as possible, but to do it in a fair and respectful way, because I think we need to work together, we need to work collaboratively, we need to work respectfully with each other to move our city going forward in 2016 and looking forward as well.
Gurpreet Dhillon, I thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I know you've got a lot of things to do, but on behalf of Brampton Focus, we thank you. Gurpreet Dhillon, he is a councillor for Wards 9 and 10 in Brampton, new councillor, and lots of interesting ideas and things that he is going to bring to the fore. My name is Michael A. Charbon. You've been watching Brampton Focus. Thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to speaking to you soon in the future. Thanks.